No, we're not.
No, we are.
No, we're not.
Yes, we are.
No, we're not.
Yes, we are.
Shut up. Good morning, gamers.
Good morning, gamers.
Welcome back to another episode of Console Commanders. Today,
we got a treat for you guys. We got hashtag Legend of Zelda.
We got chocolate chip cookies for you.
No, we don't have chocolate chip cookies.
We don't. You told me.
However, I have Fanta.
Gee, thanks. God, that's simply disgusting.
I hope that showed up on the audio.
I'm sure it did.
I hope.
So today, as per promised in the last episode, we're going to talk a little bit of this game called Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild, but not just the game. We're also going to be talking about some predictions / wish list for this hopes and dreams
for Breath of the Wild
to inevitably be crushed in the Breath of the Wild sequel that was confirmed last E3 E3 2019 this past year.
I'm hoping for the best. I really am, but I mean, hopefully Nintendo can pull that out of their hats again, like they did with Breath of the Wild initially.
Oh, I'm sure they will if they get the same people involved who did the first one. So
they frickin' better.
So you tell me, Skylar, how did you? What was your experience in following the hype for Breath of the Wild, given that it was announced? It was announced because it was originally a Wii U exclusive title. It was announced as far back, I want to say, E3 2014, and it was supposed to come out. Get this, by the end of 2007, not 17. That's when it did come out. It was supposed to come out, or initially by the end of 2015, exclusively for the Wii U.
You know what? I feel like it came out when it should have. It came out at a really good time.
Oh yeah.
Because it was like one of the first games for the Switch, and it was a really nice thing to like get the Switch up and running, like up and going again, or not again, but just with its initial release. Like, hey, here's this super awesome Zelda game that you guys also get to play with your brand new console, instead of just playing like 1-2 Switch and like all the different games that just kind of came with it. Or I don't know if that did come with it or not, but it was nice to actually have like a full, beautiful Zelda game like that to come with the Switch when it first came out.
Yeah, I am not a huge Zelda fan for the most part, as I've told you, Skylar, a couple of times now. I can tell the two people who will probably watch this podcast that I don't play a lot of the Zelda games. My first Zelda game I actually ever played through, as in more than 5 minutes, was Link Between Worlds, the 3DS
game.
One, and I love that.
Good game.
And I initially didn't care about Breath of the Wild. I promise it's not because it was put on Switch, but around the time it was announced it was also coming to Switch, basically E3 2016 was the one where they focused on that game almost exclusively. Mm-hmm. Ironically, around that time is when I started getting interested in the game. But that's probably because they finally were able to show off something about it that wasn't just a pre-rendered trailer or a very small clip or whatever. They actually showed off, like, the hours upon hours of gameplay footage they showed off at that E3 got me excited for the game, despite not being a Zelda fan.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kinda cool.
And I feel like if they did release it like they wanted to on the Wii U exclusively, I feel like that game maybe would have flopped. Like, well, and if not flopped and not did as well as it did, because I mean, when I was Wii U, I didn't play much on it. It's just like Smash with like you and the boys. But
yeah, the boys.
It was just, I don't know. I feel like with it being on the Switch, it's so much easier because of the Switch controllers and the way the Switch is made. That it's just a better console than the Wii U was.
Yeah,
and it can just like support more.
Definitely,
it can take more.
Yeah, definitely. Here's the funny thing, though, about now that you mentioned that, is not to jump the gun all the way to the Switch version, but if I'm not mistaken, the Switch version actually at times runs worse than the Wii U one, because in all fairness, despite the Wii U being so weird, given the Wii U was the console it was originally developed for, I think is part of the reasoning for that, and then they had I don't want to say hastily, because they delayed the game another year to get it on the Switch, basically. Well, probably less than a year, because I think it was supposed to come out at the end of 2016. And then at some point early on, one of the first of many delays that game experienced. That's why I'm glad I wasn't a Zelda fan until the last, not even year, I would say 9 months of its development.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I wasn't even a Zelda fan, I was just excited for the game. But my friend of mine in high school, who was a big gamer, was excited from the day it was announced in 2014 at E3, and 2015, okay, a year and a half, but we can wait for that. Delayed to early 2016. All right, cool, we can work with that. Delayed again to late 2016. All right, getting a little pushy here. And then finally delayed till early 2017 to also become a Switch release. I have to imagine that wait was probably pretty agonizing.
I mean, it's definitely worth it, though. Like, it was definitely worth it, because if they... And I feel like the reason they had to delay it so much was that they waited for the Switch, obviously.
Of course.
But it was also, like, such an ambitious game. Like,
yeah.
It's a truly open world game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't have to do any of the quests.
Not at all.
Like, you can run straight to Ganon if you want with a fucking tree branch in your hand, butt ass naked, and that's what I love about it. It's it's so good.
I love that people have been able to actually legitimately, and that's how you know Nintendo wasn't faking it. People have, obviously this is old news because this podcast is going, over 2 years after the game came out.
Yeah.
But there are plenty of
playthroughs
at this point where people just try to beat the game. Not just as quickly as possible, but more they just go straight for Hyrule Castle as soon as they can. Some people, manipulate the game's physics and coding and manipulate the game and how it works. And
like
the mechanic. What?
Modding and shit.
Not modding. They just, because you know how the physics of the game are very specific. They had to spend a lot of time making that, obviously, for all the items.
Yeah.
So people sort of manipulated that, and also I think the I don't know what they're called, the glyphs or the powers you get, I guess, for lack of a better term. I forgot what they're really called.
Yeah.
Like
the Magnesis and
Magnesis and Stasis. Those are the two. Those are the two big ones people use to manipulate stuff. They were able to get to Ganon's castle without the paraglider, even, which Nintendo kind of tried to make it clear in the beginning. Even if you want to do whatever you want in that game, you still have to get the paraglider. But people were able to get through without that thing, if I'm not mistaken.
How would they do that though? Because you get stasis and all that from the first area, right?
Yeah, once you get stasis and magnesis, I'm pretty sure people have found ways to get off the Great Plateau and head towards Hyrule Castle
that does make
without
sense.
the glider, which is good for them.
That does make sense, because if you can find like a flat rock or something like that,
and
then you can like stasis it, smack it a bunch, like to go right over the edge.
Yeah.
And then like you hit it like way as far as you can go.
And if you can hit
on it, and then you just fucking fly.
If you can hit a body of water, that negates all fall damage, if I'm not mistaken. So
fucking Minecraft rules.
Yeah, hell yeah. Well, no, those aren't even Minecraft rules. Those go back as far as Mario 64, when you think about it. Because in that game, you could jump into water from any height. I should have known better than to mention Mario 64. We'll talk about that another time. So you didn't follow it too closely before it was, while it was still a Wii U exclusive, so to speak?
Not really, no, because like, I didn't follow him. There's not a lot of games that I'm really following right now. The only games that I'm really watching right now are, I mean, they've already been released too, but like Man of Medan, about the people who made Until Dawn. I've seen a couple of videos of that already, and it looks amazing. Like they definitely did that, but they went for it, Queen.
Shut up.
But there's not a lot of games that I watch. Like, I'll hear about something that got released. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool, and I'll watch a video or two on it. And like, yeah, I would get that if I had like the money laying around for it.
Right.
Yeah, like, there's a lot of games that I would get if I had the money laying around for it. And
amen to that. Absolutely. There's so many, like, especially small indie games and stuff. Just yesterday, at the time of this recording, or it might have been 2 days ago, whatever, recently. Both the Mega Man X Legacy Collection 1 and 2 went on sale on Steam. And each of them are $12 each, or there's a bundle you could get them both for $23. And if I were anywhere but college, I would have bought that 2 days ago. Because I do eventually want to get to the Mega Man X games. But I barely started on the original Mega Man games. I've only beat 2, but that's because of the easy mode that exists within it. Which is sort of a gimmick, because I'm a plebe who plays on easy mode. Whatever. Yeah, we'll cut that out. I'm a plebe who plays on easy mode, And I have yet to get any of the other ones, but also the money at the moment. Like I need to save that for groceries and stuff, which is kind of important, to eat and sustain life. But I feel that same way. There's a couple of games that I'm following that eventually. There's one I've been following for years called Super Mario Sunshine. I've never gotten to.
Oh,
I really do want to play it sometime. I'm sure I will. But when the money's right, when it's not $40+ on eBay, but I have a feeling it's only going to get more expensive as it goes along.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What the fuck are we talking about?
We were talking about The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild for Wii U and Nintendo Switch.
Well, I mean,
so yeah, that's the thing.
Wii U and Switch is fine.
The black sheep of the Nintendo home consoles. Well, actually, I would say the Wii U, definitely. I was going to say the GameCube because that was underrated at the time and people didn't care for it as much. But no, the GameCube's got a huge assortment of great games. I'm not going to deny that remotely. But
Shadow the Hedgehog.
I mean, I think that's probably the big reason that they wanted to... No, I think it's a combo decision. The first reason that they probably wanted to bring the game to both Wii U and Switch was that they... First of all, the Wii U was not doing hot. Like, no matter how far along it got, no matter what big game releases, you had a brand new 3D Mario game, you had a new Star Fox game even, you had a new... They didn't have, like, a brand new Kirby platformer, but they had various, they had a sequel to Kirby and the Magic... I forgot what it's called. Kirby and the Canvas Curse, I think it's called. I forgot what the new one's called. Was that the one? Kirby and the Rainbow Curse. That's the one that.
Yeah, it was like you draw and it was like a two-player thing.
It looks adorable, but I never got into it because I never played the original one.
Kirby's always adorable.
Well, of course, but the sort of was animated like it was made of clay and stuff. That's what made it so cute. That's why I love Yoshi's Woolly World because it looks like it's made all of yarn and crafting material, and that's really cool.
I love it. I mean, well, I feel like the Wii U is just like a weird in between kind of thing because. Because Nintendo really hit hard with the Wii, because that was like one of the first like motion sensing systems that was out, and everybody was like, "Whoa, what is this? You mean it's not connected to the thing, but it is connected to the thing?" And it was like, "Yeah, imagine that. It's crazy, isn't it?" But it was, I don't know. I just feel like the Wii U was just the
Wii U had
it was the middle child that they were like. Yeah, I guess you're here, so we might as well do something with you, but we also do...
Well, they never took many big risks with the Wii U either, or big steps, besides Splatoon. Splatoon was like the one big thing they did. Hey, Splatoon's a really fun game. I will defend that game, and especially the sequel to The Day I Die, because that game was fun. I would say Splatoon and Smash Brothers... And I don't know, because I'm biased, Super Mario 3D World, the underrated 3D Mario game, was probably some of the saving graces of the Wii U. But there were also still a lot of fun games.
That was on the Wii U.
3D World?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that game, and I'm begging Nintendo for a Switch. Nintendo, if you're listening, please remake Mario. Well, not remake, re-release, knowing you guys. Mario 3D World for the Switch, because then I can play it on the Switch, and then I can take my Wii U back from my home without feeling like I'm robbing my family of games and stuff. Because they have a Switch too, but they only have... They don't have access to 3D World besides the Wii U. And while I have more than enough games to play right now, I'd love to get my Wii U back at some point. So Nintendo, for me personally and no one else, bring back 3D World on the Switch. God.
See, if it were that easy, I would have Nintendo wrapped around my little finger on one very specific thing, but I'm not going to get into that right now.
Is it Mario related?
Don't worry about it.
Okay, we'll talk about it later.
Don't worry.
So back to Breath of the Wild.
Yeah,
I was saying the first part of the decision, I think, to make it to a Switch launch as well was that the Wii U wasn't doing so hot. And I think another one, less in-depth reason, is just that they wanted a big name game coming out in time for their brand new console.
Of course they did.
Because look at this logically. Take Breath of the Wild out of the launch lineup for the Switch. What do we have? We have 1-2-Switch, which is essentially moving JPEGs with motion controls, the game. We have Super Bomberman R, which I hear was good, but it was a Bomberman game, so that's about it. We had a re-release of Shovel Knight and sort of an exclusive launch of Spectre of Torment campaign, which I'm guilty of buying it. I won't deny that. Because playing it on Switch is great. And then what else was there? Snipper Clips was another one. I think Fast Racing RMX also was there. There were like a couple of games that were like neat, but also kind of like, that's not enough for a console launch. Now throw in a big AAA Nintendo
AAA.
open world Zelda game. Now you have people talking. It got even non-Zelda fans like myself to pick up the game. That's how you know the game is good, is when people like me, who aren't all for open world games, went ahead and got an open world game. I don't have anything against them. It's just in a lot of games, usually they're kind of daunting for me, which is one of the reasons I didn't play as a kid. Nowadays it's different. As a kid, I didn't play like Zelda games, 3D ones, because they always seem like, it seems like they're so open and so scary to my small 5-year-old mind or something. And that's why I stuck with Mario, where you just run and jump and kill turtles.
No, you can't say kill on YouTube.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Where you bop turtles on the noggin and send their shells flying into the horizon to go back home to eat soup with their mommies.
Exactly.
That's exactly what it is.
Oh shit! What was I gonna say? I made a stupid joke. Now I don't remember.
Well, that's what you get. Don't joke ever.
Oh well. See, I'm the opposite with video games. I love big open worlds that you can just explore, like
Minecraft.
Yeah. That is part of the reason I don't like first-person shooters too much, because it's just like, here's the thing you have to do, go do that thing for like hours on end.
Yeah.
It's like, well, now I'm bored after half an hour. I want to be able to like there's a big old like crash and buildings burning in the distance. I want to go over there and check that out. So, oh, is there something over there I can get? Maybe. What are you doing? Okay.
Blocking the window to make sure no more ambient noise comes in. We'll cut this part out probably.
No more demons, it's fine.
No, we won't cut this part out.
There's a lot of shit you said you cut out in the Minecraft episode too.
Well, you know what? I could still cut it out at the time of recording this, but I probably won't because
That's
it's easier and I'm busy.
No, it's fine. But God damn it, I keep losing my train.
So back to Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, Breath of the Wild. Yeah, I mean, that's what like I said, that's just what I love about it. I love all big open world games. I love being able to like see a mountain way like miles in the distance and being able to know that I can just go there.
Yeah.
And it's nice to, because like other Zelda games, like you said, were, I guess, quote unquote open world.
Not really open world,
but they were
open.
Yeah, it looked like it was an open world, but there were always like people telling you, "Hey, go here, go
yeah,
there."
There was a world to explore, but
and there wasn't
points,
much of a choice.
Yeah, there were points you couldn't explore because you either lacked a certain item or the story progression tells you no, not yet.
Or like dreaded invisible walls. It's like you try to go.
Zelda wasn't guilty of that though, right? In the series, or am I? I've played very few. Games.
Not in Breath of the Wild, but I mean, just a lot of games in general that look like they're big open world games. There's always like invisible walls through the games. Like, no, don't go that way. You can keep progressing the story, but like, there's something interesting over there.
Yeah.
I want to see what that is. I want to see what those bokoblins are up to.
Yeah.
And what are they doing? Can I go kill them?
That's the only, I would say, disheartening thing about reaching the limits of the world of Breath of the Wild is when you find the legend. I think there's 3 or 4 different things, or maybe there's 3 or 4 different points where you'll get 3 or 4 different sort of text pop-ups that say you can't go further. Mm-hmm. One of them is because half of the world is sort of on the ocean. So you start swimming out. At a certain point, they'll say, you can't swim out any farther. You're too far away or something. Or I don't know if they'll eventually drown you themselves or something.
Oh, you can just
but I think, or they just automatically turn you around. Another one, I think, at the north is basically there's a series of mountains that like clearly set off in the distance. But at a certain point, if you try to jump out to them, they're like, no, you can't reach that far. You're leaving Hyrule.
We'll see.
And then there's the desert area where they say like the sandstorm is too thick. You can't get through. It's like, really? You can't put on a pair of goggles?
Well, see, no, but that actually makes sense. So, like, that's not a story thing. They're like, no, you can't go here because you have to progress the story. That's just saying, like, no, you can't go there because there is literally no game past that point. Because to do that, to do a thing like Minecraft does, where it's a literally infinite world, that's kind of hard to do with a game that looks and runs like Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, I was just saying that's like the only disappointing parts of the open world. Is just, I mean, I guess that's any open world games. It does end at some point.
Yeah.
But I will say it was very few times I've ever come across that. Like, if we're counting times I accidentally ran into it, I would say almost never. I think every time it was on purpose. I'm like, how far can I go? And the game says this far, and I'm like, all right, that's not bad.
Like, good to know.
Especially for a game that's also on the Wii U. That's amazing. They got the game to run as smoothly as it did because the Wii U was such a specific piece of hardware, and that's the nicest way I can put that.
Yeah.
No, the Wii U had a lot of weird foreign architecture, especially for third-party games that wanted to be ported over. So that's part of the reason it was so difficult to develop for. And I think even, I don't know if Nintendo had a hard time with it, but I mean, they delayed Breath of the Wild how many times before even deciding it was coming to the Switch? So you tell me. I don't want to say.
Yeah, but I will say, just to like wrap up this whole like Breath of the Wild part before we move on to like number 2.
Yeah.
The only thing that I didn't like about Breath of the Wild was the lack of interactions with Ganon.
Yeah.
Like what if there was like a nighttime cutscene, like when you get closer to defeating Ganon, where like Link falls asleep and he has a dream and like Ganon appears in the dream. I mean that's the only thing that I didn't like about it, was that there wasn't any like interaction, like pre-fight interaction between Link and Ganon. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that is probably the story also, in addition to the villain, is about the weakest part of the game. Not that it's bad per se.
It's like, oh, you fell asleep 100 years ago, and now Ganon took over Hyrule.
Like it's sort of a double-edged sword with this open world approach. On the one hand, you make the plot sort of not super important, so that people will feel free to do whatever they want. But at the same time, there's
a lot of stuff that they could have played around with. That they missed out on.
And some of the stuff like backstory for the characters in Link and Zelda specifically is locked behind a side quest unrelated to the main story. You do get the Champion's Tunic for it, which is, I think one of the best pieces of gear you can get in the game.
Yeah.
But even so, that's all optional. And while that is, good for the formula of Breath of the Wild, making everything as open-ended as possible, it's a little disappointing we don't get to hear more from the story, because the main story barely focuses on Zelda, if anything. Just the optional flashback. Like, you get the lady who makes the Sheikah Slate. She has this whole list of cameras. This list of photos from various places around Hyrule, and you can go to them and, find those spots with your Sheikah Slate, retake the picture,
and then you have that memory.
You get a memory. But the thing is, that's almost always Link and Zelda, and that's not a bad thing, except all the cutscenes you get by going to the 4 Divine Beasts and such, or even just going, if you're a madman, going straight to Hyrule Castle to fight Ganon. Yeah, imagine. See, that's why Breath of the Wild sucks. If you run right to the end, you get no story. It's so if you skip to the final chapter, you're going to be confused. It's weird.
Then that's your choice.
But that makes sense.
It's not on the game. That's on you.
I just wish there could have been a little more, especially with Link and Zelda. And you know what? I think this is like the one Zelda game where it's weird that Link doesn't talk. In every other one, it kind of makes sense, especially since there's voice acting this time. Like, let's forget the days of Wand of Gavilan and CDI Zelda games.
You need to leave those alone.
Yeah, well, I'm going to play them someday. But even so, forget those days. Like, the voice acting overall is actually all right, I think. I don't know.
In Breath of the Wild or CDI?
I'm talking still Breath of the Wild. I don't care about CDI Zelda, really. I feel it's sort of hit and miss depending on the characters. Like, the guy, Rivali and...
Rivali's good.
Yeah, basically, all... I want to say the Rivali and... Who's the other guy? Sidon from the...
The Goron?
Not the Goron. The Goron was Daruk, I believe.
Yeah.
Daruk's protection is now ready to roll.
Because there were 2 women... And there were 2
There
dudes.
was Mifa. Is it Mifa?
Yeah, it was Mifa.
I was going to say Midna, but that's a completely different game.
No, that is a different game.
That's a Twilight Princess.
There was Mifa, the Rivali, Daruk, and the...
Who was... Oh my god, I can look it up right now.
What's her face's name?
It's not Gamora. What is it?
Guys, the Legend of Zelda is part of the MCU.
No, it's. I'm looking it up right now. God, I'm gonna sound stupid.
No, it's fine because I don't even remember the name, and I love me some Zelda.
What are their names?
What are their names?
Urbosa's Fury.
Lady Urbosa.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember based on the powers they give you when you beat the Divine Beast. That's also something I didn't realize. That's almost Mega Man-esque in a way. When you essentially defeat a boss,
and then
you get a new power. It's not their power, but still, it's apparently Legend of Zelda is just ripping off Mega Man nowadays. Cool.
You need to calm down.
I'm always calm. But yeah, Rivali, Daruk, Mifa, and Urbosa. And that is their names. What is it? Urbosa, Mifa, and Rivali were really good. Daruk was good too, and I enjoyed him sometimes, but occasionally one or two of his lines were kind of weird. Honestly, the most disappointing character in both in terms of, and this is going to sound mean, the voice acting and also the characterization was Zelda, because her voice actor still did a good job, but nothing remarkable. And I feel mean saying that because we're trying to be actors too.
But she was only barely in the game.
That's the other thing. That's also my criticism with her characterization is she's barely in it, and we don't get to learn enough about her and her personality.
I feel like there's gonna be. I feel like that'll get fixed if Nintendo takes a good story with Breath of the Wild 2. Yes. If that's what it's even gonna be called, but we're just gonna have to reference it.
I guarantee it's gonna be called something else. It will be set in a probably basically take the world and retexture it and give it brand new landmarks to make it at least somewhat distinct. Because I guarantee they're reusing, at the very least, the original landscape.
But like I was saying, if Nintendo doesn't take the easy way out and makes it like the first, 15-20 minutes of the game is you and Zelda, and then Zelda gets kidnapped by something, that I feel like that's going to be the lazy way to do it if they do that.
That's the traditional way of doing it.
I know that's not the traditional way of doing it, but like if this is a direct sequel after Breath of the Wild, like Zelda has shown her stripes. She's fucking claws out, ready. Like let's fucking go, dude.
Yeah.
Oh my god, and it just like in the way that little tiny trailer looked, like she is ready to kick some ass. She like cut her hair and everything. Her and Link are like right up like neck and neck with each other in terms of power. They can fuck shit up now.
Yeah, so it sounds like we're progressing into Breath of the Wild 2 and stuff. We'll definitely still talk about the original throughout the coming days, months, years, etc. probably, because that's such a great game. But for this small little discussion, I think overall, dare I ask what you would give it a rating, or do you not care about ratings?
Breath of the Wild?
Yeah. I personally don't do ratings or anything. I would just say play it or don't.
I don't know. I definitely recommend playing it, obviously. I would give it maybe like a 7 or 8. Not a 10 out of 10 because no game is ever like a 10 out of 10.
What are you talking about?
Even my favorite game.
You've never played Garfield Kart, apparently.
You need to stop. You need to stop.
It's a beautiful game.
With all these obscure
Mario Kart's a ripoff of Garfield Kart, but continue 7 or 8 out of 10?
Yeah, I would say give it a 7 or 8 out of 10. It's obviously not a perfect game.
Yeah.
What about you?
I would say, as someone who isn't a Zelda fan and has barely played even games like Ocarina of Time and even less so Majora's Mask, which is a cult classic I'm aware of, I really loved the game. I really loved how open it was because so many times I got distracted, mostly with shrines as opposed to like side quests entirely. But I ended up doing a lot of shrines and stuff. Like I have to go find, I forgot what they're called, but the various divine beasts, and I would see a shrine or something, or I would meet a guy that actually turned out to be one of the ninja dudes. I forgot who they're called. The Yiga clan. Yeah, no, I would end up fighting those and then find a shrine or something. I love how open it was, and I love that even for a Zelda game, I still felt the story. It's weird because I know I just lambasted it for not having enough story, but I also do appreciate what little bits of story there is. I guess what I'm saying is I like what story they provided, but I don't like how little of it there is. I wish there was more integrated into the main campaign, and I would have liked to see more main campaign focus on Link and stuff. But otherwise, I would, if you have a Nintendo Switch, or God forbid a Wii U, if you can't get your hands on a Switch, which is perfectly fine, because as far as I'm aware, the Wii U version is exactly the same as the Switch version. It even got all the DLC. It even got the DLC. I don't know if you remember.
Heroes of Hyrule?
Oh, well, you mean the Champion's Ballad or whatever?
Something like that.
No, I was going to say it even, because if you pre-order the DLC, you get access to some exclusive stuff, like extra items, but you also get a Nintendo Switch shirt in-game, which was also present in the Wii U version, which I thought was really funny.
Cool.
It's cool that it's an in-game item, but imagine playing it on Wii U and getting a shirt that's like, wow, it's for my Wii U console. It's like, no, it's advertised the Nintendo Switch. By the way, buy the Nintendo Switch. It was just, it's kind of funny that they didn't bother to make a separate shirt for the Wii U version, and it felt like Link is literally standing in a Nintendo Switch logo. But otherwise, if you got a Nintendo Switch or a Wii U at the time of this recording, the Switch Lite is actually on its way. I think, what's the date today? The 28th?
28th.
Is it the 28th? Yeah. The Switch Lite is less than a month away, so maybe that's a time to go for Breath of the Wild. It costs $100 less than the Switch. Trust me, we're not endorsed by, or what is it? Not endorsed, not an advertisement for Nintendo. I'm just saying, I personally recommend, if you have any of those consoles, go ahead, play Breath of the Wild. It's a big open world experience, and I feel it's very unique in what you can pull off.
Yeah.
So enough about that. Let's talk about the next one.
Oh boy, yeah.
You mentioned from the beginning the Link and Zelda neck and neck thing.
So I know I've heard people talk about like, oh, there might be multiplayer in it, and I really hope there isn't.
Yeah.
But I don't want them to completely get rid of Zelda and have her be kidnapped again. I want it to be like a cooperative thing with an AI that's actually really, really good, so you don't have any trouble with like its pathing or its pathfinding or anything. So like if you, because I feel like you're definitely gonna be playing as Link. Like it's a Legend of Zelda game. You're playing as Link, all that. But I feel like there could be some switching between it, switching between the two, but still the majority of the game being played as Link. Like you switch between playing as Link and playing as Zelda because there are obviously some like magic things that only Zelda can do, and then obviously some like hero and strength things that only Link can do. Yeah. Not to say that's like a sexist thing.
Yeah, you're sexist now. Just because you said Link has power of any kind, that means. That means you hate women now. Just because Link, who has proven himself to defeat the forces of evil time and again is strong, that means you hate women. Obviously,
definitely.
Well, see, I agree with everything you're saying, except this is more not a prediction, more of a wish list thing, but I also think, because Breath of the Wild surprised people in a lot of ways and did away with a lot of Zelda conventions. Like, I know the Divine Beasts essentially were dungeons, but despite that, there were no real, like, fire dungeon or ice dungeon,
It was an interactive dungeon.
Yeah, it was more of an interactive dungeon, more like a dungeon you manipulate as opposed to a dungeon that's already set up in you. And you have to adapt for it. Mm-hmm. You change the dungeon to adapt for you and what you need to accomplish, and I thought that was cool. I'm gonna go out on a limb with a prediction, and because of the shorter hair that you mentioned, and also the fact that they like to do things up, again, this is more a wish than an actual prediction, but I'm hoping / semi-predicting you will play as Zelda in this one, and that's mostly because I find there's no reason there can be, because you said it yourself, Zelda. Yeah, they don't really mention the Triforce nearly as much in Breath of the Wild as previous games. So I think they do still mention it though, right? The Triforce is still.
Yeah, I mean obviously
she still has the Triforce.
You can't have a Zelda game without. Yeah.
So my belief is that they're going to use that to either. I don't think they're going to take out Link necessarily, but how cool would it be? With the part of the trailer where they're basically looking at Ganon's remains, and he snaps back to life. And he, resurrects somehow, flies towards him, and they expect, oh my god, he's going to take Zelda again, and he grabs Link. Think about it. How else do you stop your reign from terror from being impeded once again? Take the dude who's been doing it
screwing you over for years,
for generations, for multiple incarnations. It would be so cool. But this is why I don't think it's necessarily a prediction. Or I guess not a prediction, but something I'm confident they'll do. Because, again, you're right. Almost every Zelda game, with the exception of... which one?
Faces of Evil?
Faces of Evil on the CD. Yeah. Let's talk good Zelda games. Pretty much no other Zelda game do you play as anyone but Link. With the slightest exception being Spirit Tracks, where you play as the Phantom Armor too, but that's together with Link. That's not the same thing. I would love it. I can easily see it. I mean, they can just do a model swap. Not gonna lie. You take Zelda. I mean, don't do a literal model swap because Link is slightly taller. But put Zelda in the place of Link and use all those. Not all the animations, but as many as you can. Mm-hmm. And that's already a fresh, pardon the pun, breath of air for the game by completely changing. It's called The Legend of Zelda, and I'm not saying you have to get rid of your protagonist in order to empower women and stuff, but at the same time, how great a surprise would it be to have one Legend of Zelda game, a good one, a mainline Zelda game that's not made for the Philips CDI. That's where it's
literally the Legend of Zelda.
You read my mind. I think that would be super cool, and the fact that this Zelda is a lot smarter than previous Zeldas. Like the previous Zeldas have their strength in their own ways, but they're more I don't know. Especially Skyward Sword Zelda was a bit ditzy, but to be fair, I think that was not because she's like a dumb blonde. I think it's more because there are still kind of more kids in that one, as opposed to simply just dumb. I think it would be the coolest thing that game could do is pull a sneaky on you, and I don't know, at the very least take Link out of commission in some way and make the game where you control Zelda on her quest to stop Ganon herself.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying, again, you have to kill Link or anything, but at the very least kidnap him and put, I don't know. It's kind of hard to put a situation where somehow Link isn't immediately murdered by Ganon if he's kidnapped by him.
Mm-hmm.
So, cause at least the first Breath of the Wild had that advantage, whereas Zelda and Ganon are apparently, quote-unquote, fighting for 100 years, and yet Zelda hasn't aged a day. It's weird. But they never explained that, by the way. And I swear it's because for the sake of shipping and all
didn't
that.
she not have like a physical form for those 100 years?
Oh, did she? Did they say something like that?
Well, I mean, if you remember that second part of the boss fight when with like Pigman Ganon, she doesn't have a physical form. She's just kind of like this.
Where is she?
She's inside Ganon. Like,
she doesn't exist.
No, she's inside
Zelda
Ganon.
never
like,
existed. Like, you've been hallucinating for 20 years.
No, she's inside Ganon, like trying to, because she holds back, quote unquote, holds back the evil for you to shoot the light arrows into Ganon. So that would make sense if she didn't have a physical form, which would make sense that she didn't age a day while she was fighting Ganon for those 100 years.
I guess that makes sense. I didn't realize that at the time, but that's all right. Yeah, I would say that's my biggest hope / prediction / wish for that game. I mean, other than, they have to change up the world enough. I think I already said I can almost guarantee, in fact, I can guarantee 100% locking this in. They're reusing the overall world from Breath of the Wild. Now, since they're working exclusively on Switch hardware now, I think they're going to do more with it. I hope they expand it a bit.
Yeah.
Maybe, they got to change it up, though, to make it fresh and all that, because the world's been freed from Ganon's forces, so maybe more civilizations are rebuilt. Maybe, who knows how long this is after the original game, so this could be 10 years for all we know. So we could have, like, Hyrule in its prime again, rebuilt from the ashes of Ganon's defeat or whatever. Like, we could, like a phoenix rising from the ashes, they could rebuild Hyrule, and I think they're going to reuse the world, but I'm also hopeful, and also I feel confident that they'll change it up at least a little bit in a lot of neat ways to make it still fresh and still not the exact same world that you traveled over before. Because that's a thing open world games got to be careful about, is reusing, when they do reuse their old worlds, because one game that does that is random comparison, but Batman Arkham Origins, half of its world is more or less copy and pasted from Batman Arkham City, but they do a lot of, since it's an origin story, they change it a lot because it's before they put up walls and stuff and make it a prison. So they make a lot of places like people live there, and they change up a lot of the locations and how things are even built structurally and all that, and expansions that are later seen in Arkham City. So it's it's tricky when they do that, because some people are like, man, this world, half of this place is just Arkham City again, and I'm like, well, they changed it in a lot of ways. I actually kind of like it, and so those are the two big things, I guess. Make Zelda the main playable character, and make the world fun to explore again, just as fun as the first game.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a pretty hopeful note to end today on, don't you think?
Yeah. Well, you got any other big hopes, predictions, wish list?
Not
anything
really.
like that?
I just hope they don't mess it up. I just hope they
make it good.
I just hope that they don't go an easy route on it. Like, I want to be like satisfied.
Absolutely.
This game.
Yeah. Knowing I haven't read up who exactly is involved, but I believe it's the same development team that worked on the first one. And they were a bunch of, I think, younger staff, actually. Like, they were the ones who came up with a lot of the ideas for, breaking away from Zelda conventions of dungeons and these dungeon-specific power-ups that you need to progress further in the game and stuff. So, kudos to them. They made a fantastic game on Switch. I'm still playing Breath of the Wild to this day, and that's with all the other Switch games about, with Smash Bros. Ultimate, Mario Odyssey, which I personally like more, but that's a topic for another day. Even Mario Maker 2 came out recently, and I'm still playing Breath of the Wild, the Master Mode specifically. So that's really a testament to how well this game was made. So good job, guys, on making that one. And hoping the next one's going to be just as good. And they've shown that they can at least do good. So I don't see any reason we should fear until we hear more information about it. probably, I would say the soonest is next E3, given it looks like it's really early in development and given how long that game initially took to make, they thought they were going to get it done by 2015, the sorry saps. 2 years of delays, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Good for them. We'll try not to make quite as many harsh delays on the podcast, we promise, guys.
It'll be fine.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Is that it?
It's pretty good stuff.
Alright, you gonna end this one without actually trying to kiss me?
You know what? Maybe I'll do it when it turns off. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Great.